Happy holidays, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a holiday horror film, spoiler-free review that just hit digital. It's called There's Something in the Barn. But what is it? So yeah, last night I watched this film, and I'm just now getting to record it. It's an interesting horror, holiday, comedy, fantasy film that is taking place in Norway. It's directed by Magnus Martins, who is a Norwegian director, and written by the main writer anyway, is Alexander Kirkwood, who is also a Norwegian writer. So what is it all about? Well, it's about an American family who is moving to Norway to inherit a home that they got from one of their relatives who had recently died under some pretty weird circumstances. The intro of the movie is essentially how this relative dies by the hands of something nefarious, a mystical creature known as the elf. They call them something else in the film, but I can't quite remember it. This is obviously a Norwegian film that has some sort of history to this sort of elf lore. Apparently, there's a whole set of rules that you have to follow in this film to basically keep this barn elf happy. And if you don't, well, basically then it gets really violent and starts murdering people. Which, you know, saying it out loud is actually kind of funny. Probably more funny than the actual movie is. While this is a horror comedy, it doesn't really get funny until the gore pops in. And it's not like way over the top gore, although there is one scene involving a snowmobile that should delight quite a few people. And it's not like some sort of language barrier or some sort of weird type of humor thing, because like I get into dry humor, but this is like trying to mix like slapstick humor with dry humor, and it sort of doesn't land in some regards. It's more of like you know, and the story is kind of the more interesting part to it. And then when the gore kicks in, well, then that's when it starts to become a more interesting movie than I thought it was. The weird thing about this movie is it has this sort of like teenager feel to it, maybe like a teenager, an adolescent. This movie tries to balance like adolescent movie with like violence. There is an appeal to it for the adult section, but maybe not so much the other. And I think it was because maybe they were trying to fit like the Christmas spirit into a horror movie. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But regardless, some of it doesn't work. A lot of it doesn't work. And you would think that it would, because you have comedic actor Martin Starr, who plays the dad in this movie, who is sort of kind of clueless and doesn't really notice anything ever going on and just kind of accepts things. Also have Amrita Akaria, who is the mom in this. She's actually from The Serpent Queen and Game of Thrones. So I don't know. I never watched Game of Thrones, to be honest with you. And I'm sure some of you are going to be like at me. But yeah, I didn't. But she's in it. There's a son and a daughter. And this family experiences this barn elf. There's like these rules. Like it's like, don't be loud, feed it a gift before Christmas Eve, and like all these things. And they pretty much break all the rules. Basically wreaks havoc on the family. There's a lot more than just one elf, I'll just say that. But yeah, this is a interesting movie in that it's not one of the funniest things I've seen. I've seen comedies that are like this. This is no rare exports. That's a really interesting movie, and I think it works in so many different ways because it's serious. This is more of like trying to be silly and mix like almost like two different cultures into one movie, which is admirable, and I love stuff like that. But for some reason, it just didn't work in this film. But I did like the gore, and I did start laughing when people were getting shredded. That was fun. There were some sections where the elves are getting their fair share of it too, which was kind of fun. The elves, they looked pretty intimidating for the most part because they have like this naturally kind of evil look to them. So it is a little creepy, unsettling seeing them about, but that quickly turns into irreverent fun with the elves. But they're also kind of like drunken old men. That's how it looks. And I've had friends that like this movie a little bit or just not at all, and it just is kind of up in the air on what you're gonna enjoy. It's a noble effort to do a pretty modern tale with some violence and gore that we're always asking for in these kid-like movies. So it's like, you can't win, but maybe I just wasn't the target demographic. I would probably give this movie like a 6.5, maybe a 6. It's nothing that's going to blow you out of the water. It's a fun watch. It's an easy one-time watch for sure. It's not something that I'm going to reach and watch again fairly soon. Might just be something that I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that movie and I kind of want to watch it. But yeah, it's out on digital. Martin Starr, it's like he's fine in the movie. It's just there's a lot of like moments in the film where it just didn't seem to work. And I don't know why, but it just didn't work for me. And, I think some of you guys might enjoy it though. So, you could be higher than my score and some of you will probably hate it. So you just never know, but set your expectations a little bit lower. Go in. If you want to watch a holiday horror movie, we have quite a few this year. Most of them are never going to be perfect, so you kind of go with the flow and watch a fun holiday horror movie for what it is. We hope that they would all be, 8s, 9s, and 10s, but that's just not the reality of the situation. So if you get a couple of chuckles out of it for the holiday season, what's wrong with that? I hope you are enjoying your holiday season this year. We got more holiday horror movies that I'm going to be watching along the way. Some of my favorites that are mildly horror, like I might be doing Scrooged here soon, so I'll talk about that film. We just watched that as well. But if you didn't know, we do have a new interview that we did with the writer and director of Do Not Disturb from 2022, who just put out their movie, what I really enjoyed, and I think you should check it out because it was a really fun interview. Thank you so much for coming by. More is on the way, and as always, long live the void.